In this video, we're going to take a look at a shimmering red ink by PensBBS number 235. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also, down in the description is a link to the red ink playlist, so if you wanted to see more, you can find that there. I'm an ink guy, and let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. Holy shimmering. We have no feather, no spread, no shading in the writing because the shimmer is really dominating a lot of it here. They all appear to be very much the same tone. The extra fine took 6 seconds to dry while the medium took 10. The scrubby for both, I'm not seeing shading, but I'm seeing a lot of glitter. The smear test says you could likely recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Levenger True Writer with a broad nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. No bleeding, but some minor ghosting. We have no feather, no spread, no shading in any of the writing, and while it looks very different on camera, we're all actually the same tone. It's just a matter of how much of the glitter is showing up on camera versus not. You see that? Big difference there. The glitter is strong with this one, and the angles of the lights help or hurt at different times. The extra fine took 9 seconds to dry, while the medium took 17. The scrubby for both give no color variation, there is none in the writing, and the smear test you could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vida. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And this, at first, looks just like a red that's fleeing up and gathering at the top. But there's a blue line all the way at the top. The one on the right that's let dry for 10 minutes really looks the same. It didn't travel as far up, and the blue line is slightly more noticeable, but I'm not expecting any resistance from this ink. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. No bleeding, no ghosting. We have no feather, no spread, no shading in the writing, even really no tone variation in the writing. We're again dealing with shimmer here. The extra fine took 6 seconds to dry, while the medium took 11. The scrubby for both give no color variation. We're really not getting it in writing. Honestly, while there's not a lot to say on it, it is a very solid performing ink. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink could be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, there's no way I would use this in a note-taking situation. It obliterates what was written there. Water is reactivating and lifting all of this ink up off the page, and it's all that it took to get it out of my pen. Now, the pen flush does everything that water does, nothing more really, and the 1/3 bleach solution that you're not going to need does destroy it. The next writing sample is done on P. Berger paper. Now, this is an inexpensively produced student grade paper, so all of these bleed spots are not a big deal. And to be honest, the other side of the page, which has French ruling, and this side with no ruling, makes you think that they didn't plan on using the back of the page anyway. The good news for all of this, none of it touched the page underneath. You just can't use the back of that page. Now, we have no feathering, which I was very surprised about. We have no spread. We're seeing shading in the stub. We're seeing shading in the extra fine. We're even seeing shading in the medium. Very surprising. Haven't seen shading like this on any of the other papers. The extra fine is a little lighter than the stub, and the medium is by far the darkest tone on the page. The extra fine took 3 seconds to dry, while the medium took 5. The scrubby for the extra fine shows a fair amount of color variation, which we are getting. The medium shows none, but we do definitely see it in the writing. And the smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. PensBBS number 235 has a viscosity of 1.82, because it needs to be a wet ink handling this shimmer. The next writing sample is done on Levenger paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. That's not bleed through, that's me being sloppy. We have no feather, no spread, no shading in any of the writing, but I do see that the medium is much darker than the extra fine or the stub. The extra fine took 5 seconds to dry, while the medium took 9. The scrubby for both do show some color variation. I'm really not seeing it in the writing. I don't see any shading in any of the writing here. In the smear test, you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. PensBBS number 235 has an average dry time of 16 seconds, meaning it's normal. The last writing sample is done on hazel notebook paper. A very absorbent paper, generally very fountain pen friendly, no bleeding and no ghosting. I wish I could get this easily here in the States as a paper. I have no feather, no spread. I get shading in the stub, shading in the extra fine, no shading in the medium. Now the extra fine and stub are the same tone, while the medium is much darker than everything else on the page. The extra fine took 3 seconds to dry, while the medium took only 4. Scrubby for the extra fine shows some color variation that we definitely got, and the medium shows none that we definitely didn't get. Smear test says you probably cannot recover if you smear while you're writing. Instead of finding inks that look like PensBBS number 235, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I decided to go with a safety ink, really, in this case, and I went with a blue ink by Monteverde, their Sapphire. Now, if you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to those playlists. So what do I think of PensBBS 235? This is a good match of shimmer over a great ink. I would have preferred to see this without the shimmer because it looks like a very interesting ink. It's good. Yep, a good one. Well done. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? No surprises here. A very wet pen, and I do think you could get away with a gusher of a medium or just a wet broad. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video, we're going to take a look at Ackerman's number 13.